writing, thinking about my wife. I mean, man, you guys, I've been leaning into my marriage the last few years, I feel like, in more ways than I had. And in some ways it's beautiful, and in some ways it is harder. But here's these 3 words. So number 6 is you were made to rule. Okay, now when we hear this word, if like a woman's listening to this, I know if my daughters were listening to this, they'd be like, whoa, 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 hold up, dude. My friend, thank you for being here. Your role as a father is truly critical. I believe with all of me that the world would look and feel different if more men like you were stepping into his role, his identity, the truth about who he was as a father. And you're here, you're diving in, you are on the path becoming the man that God designed you to be when he made you a father. Thank you for being here. Keep fighting, keep waking up every day and putting those feet on the ground, loving and serving those that have been placed in your care. Welcome to Fatherhood Field Notes Podcast, where I interview incredible fathers, gaining wisdom from their stories for you and I to grow in our craft. I'm your guide, Ned Shout, father to 5 kids, currently ages 11 to 18. It's crazy how fast it goes. And husband to my rad wife, Sarah, working on our 20th year of marriage. So yep, I'm in the thick of it, and I am working daily to rebel against the low expectations for fathers and create a world where fathers know who they are as they show up for their families. You and I have the greatest opportunity to impact our world through the way we embrace our fatherhood role. This episode is brought to you by the Adventure of Fatherhood, helping men discover their powerful fatherhood role and build their fatherhood skills. The role of the father is to serve, guide, provide, protect, and of course, find joy and have fun in the messiness of it all. Today's episode is going to be a little different, my friend. It is going to be me talking about marriage. I just celebrated my 20th year of marriage with my queen, my bride, my best friend, Sarah. And so I wrote down 20 thoughts on marriage. So you're going to see me, if you're watching this, you're going to see me looking over to the side here as I go through my notes. I'm going to break this into 2 episodes. I'm going to do 10 thoughts today, and then we'll do 10 thoughts next week. So here we are. Today is July 13th, 2024, and I got married July 10th, 2004, and it seems like a lifetime ago. Now, marriage, why are we talking about marriage? This is a fatherhood podcast. Now, I know all of you may not be married, but I think in the ideal, perfect world, right? The idea is that we're married with kids, but it can be all over the place, right? You have single dads, you have stepdads, you have lots of situations. But I'm going to talk about my story, my perspective, and some thoughts on marriage. Because if you are married and you are pursuing the heart of your wife, I think this may be the most important gift that you give to your kids if you're married. I regularly tell my parents, thank you. Thank you for being married. Thank you for figuring it out, because it is such a gift to give my brother and I. My parents have been married 42 years, and in so many ways they're different, which to me is really the beauty of it, is that you can take 2 people who have some different values and things and find commonality, find common ground. And that is something our world is definitely missing. And I think it's a lie for us to think that I'm looking for this perfect mate that we can, align on everything. And it's funny, I was actually having a conversation with my 15-year-old daughter today. We're going surfing and we're talking about her future husband and me leaning into her of, hey, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to trust God when you show up with some dude, but here's some qualities that I think you should look at. But again, I can't dictate that. It's not my decision. It's your decision. I do think it's important, as we're raising our kids to talk about having common values, right? There's certain values that definitely will help in building a foundation, right? Is faith important? What's important to you around finance? What's important to you about giving? So there's certain qualities, right? And somebody said recently, and I've been saying it to my kids a lot more, my daughters mainly, is marry character, not personality. Marry for character, not personality. And you guys, it is important that we're talking to our kids now about their spouses, thinking about them. I was even sharing with some guys, I'm going through a series right now on fatherhood with a group of men. And one of the things that we talked about in doing devotion time is praying for future spouses, right? Like, are we praying for our daughter's husbands? Am I praying for my son's wife? Like, she's out there right now doing something, living somewhere. Are we thinking about those things, talking about those things? Okay, let's get into 10 thoughts. We're going to do 20, but 10 thoughts today on marriage. And this is kind of a free flow. So I got some bullet points and I'm just going to rap about them because this is important. Number one, God-centered. What are you building your marriage on? What am I building my marriage on? This foundational truth that God created a man and a woman for them to come together as one. To have some sort of foundation that we're building our lives from is important because when things get rocky, what do we turn to? Where's the foundation of why I'm saying this thing is important? And a way that this helps me is seeing my wife as God's daughter, right? That God created her and that he entrusted me with her. Now, this can get sensitive or touchy, but the heart behind it is what matters. Is like, I'm looking at my wife as a gift from God, not to come alongside and just like help me with my life, but she's somebody that God trusted me with. That God's like, hey, Ned could love and cherish and honor and walk with this woman. Like, she's a gift. And it's an opportunity for me to love her. It's an opportunity for me to see her, to know her. But the essence of this, number one, is how do you see your wife? Like, who is she? Who is she to you? Who is she to God? Right? Now, there's a couple ways that I've messed this up to stick here for a minute. When we first got married, I was just 21. I was a baby and I was very into my faith, which I am today as well. But let's just say I was more young and naive, just young, right? And so there are ways where I'm like, oh, I'm reading my Bible, you should too. Or, oh, I'm praying, you should too. And so there are ways that I thought wanted her relationship with God to look like mine. And I messed that up a little bit. I pushed her away because it felt like it was less hers and more to make me happy. So, and then the whole leave and cleave thing, leaving your father and mother and starting your own traditions, your own family. I was young. We were young. And I think I lacked a confidence to build that in a little bit stronger way. So number one, thought on marriage is, what is the foundation, right? Is it built around godly principles? And I love the idea of godly. Am I a man of faith? Am I a man of character? Am I a godly man? And am I building, creating, establishing, pursuing a godly marriage? Number two, for years, I used to talk about my wife as being a flower. And you could see it. If I speak truth and love and life, she opens up and like the flower opens and it's beautiful. And if I'm a jerk and mean and selfish, she could just close up like the sun's gone and she's got to stay tight and protective. And over the past couple of years, my thought around this has expanded to more of the idea of a garden. And I have the opportunity to go in and nurture and care for and prune and see and know and love this garden. And at the center is my wife and her heart. And the more that I give her the freedom to flourish, there doesn't even need to be this fence. Let's say this fence around the garden can continue to just like expand. And it's up to me. It's my opportunity. Am I creating space? Am I expanding that fence line? Am I protecting the fence, right? Am I protecting it from predators? I'm protecting it from outside influences, but I'm always pushing the boundaries further and further so that she has room to flourish. And there's something I regularly tell my wife is like, thank you for making our house a home. And it's just words, right? But you could walk into a house and it might not feel comfortable and feel like, let me just lay on the floor and I'm at peace. Like the whole world could be chaotic and I could walk in this house and it could smell good and feel right and just be a place of, I could breathe here. I want my kids to walk into a home like that. And if we create this space, our wife will make our house, this four walls, a home. So look at your wife as a garden that is ever expanding and you have the opportunity to care and nurture it. Number three, I feel like I'm learning this more and more. The last 3 years have been, we just celebrated 20 years. So the last 3 years, I think our life has some like quote unquote, we've arrived or settled, right? We're in our 40s now. And, we're kind of cruising with career and home and kids, whatever. And I've been leaning more into marriage. And one of the things that I did last year for the whole year almost is read 1 Corinthians 13 every day. And I'm going to talk more about this in another portion of this, but learning to love. Marriage is an opportunity to learn to love. 1 Corinthians. And I've officiated a few weddings, and it's funny. I feel like I got this like nailed down. Love is patient, love is kind. Love doesn't envy, doesn't boast, doesn't keep record of wrong. And I'll talk about how, you learn this over a decade or a couple decades or, 3, 4, 5 decades. And it is true. Like, I'm in it. You're 20 years in and you think that you would have this down, and you don't. You are still come to a moment of being selfish or not being kind or holding a grudge or, keeping a record of wrong, keeping a record of, well, I actually did the dishes 4 times this week. You're telling me I don't do anything, right? So easy. So learning to love. Marriage is an opportunity to learn to love, which takes me to number 4. Man, if you have a chance to go listen to my podcast, number 370 with Dan Tacchini, come on, get out of town. This dude, legit. He said this words to me, marriage is a crucible. Now, if you think about that, crucible, this is an opportunity in life to dig in, lean in to not just what's comfortable, but what's going to give me I don't even want to say this is selfishly for me to become a better human. Like, I will, but the reason why I'm leaning into marriage isn't just because like I want to be a better human. Like, no, it's so much more. God created me and I want to experience life to the fullest. And marriage is an opportunity to lean in and not be selfish. I mean, right? It's easier with our kids because they're half us, maybe to like die to ourselves or swallow our pride or quickly forgive and quickly move on. But what about our spouse? What about our wife? Are we looking at this as an opportunity to go, okay, what can I change about me? And I don't mean change, like, let me just change everything about me so that then I'm really not myself. I'm just this person wants me to be. No, but you and I both know, like, there's parts of us that suck, parts of us that are selfish, parts of us that need smoothed. And marriage is an opportunity for that, if we believe that. And check this out. My dad would tell me, or had told me, and I think his dad maybe told him, but my dad said he didn't marry a person, he married an idea. And it's funny, I'd love to actually have him expand upon that. So I think I will. But for me, this idea is that you're not meant for life alone, that when life is done with somebody in such an intimate and vulnerable way, that more life produces. I mean, and like, that's what happens, right? We fall in love, we make love, and more humans come. Like, it's pretty freaking wild. And that's a beautiful component of marriage. But what about the other fruit that can come from this idea of two opposites, two people with different ways coming together and learning to not be selfish? Now, number 5, we're getting halfway. These might be kind of short. Number 5 is this word, empathy. Empathy. And I'm going to tell you right now, Sarah and I had this wicked fight. Wicked fight. And it, one of those ones where you wake up the next day and you just still feel like total dog shit. And I had a podcast with this man, Chris Bruno. I'd never spoken to him before. And I know he's done stuff with marriage. And I'm like, man, I'm just going to cancel this thing. And we get on the call. And he's like, how are you? And typically, like, I could turn it on. Oh, dude, I'm great. Welcome to Fatherhood Field Notes. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, honestly, I'm horrible. And he's like, you want to talk about it? I'm like, yeah, sure. He's like, and basically we recorded it. We recorded a conversation. That one is gold. It's episode 354. But number 5 here is empathy. Now, empathy, you learn this in marriage, to put yourself in someone else's shoes, to understand from their perspective, to feel what my wife feels because of her story. And Chris punched me right in the face with his words. He something sympathy. He basically said that I was not having empathy, that I was just frustrated that she was in my way because I wanted the night to go great. And then there's this roadblock, and not seeing why, where, how the roadblock was there, and having empathy for that. And then being able to extend grace and to have mercy and to be that shoulder, that open heart of, I am here with you. I'm here with you to truly be with someone. And you guys, I am not there yet, but there are moments that I am. There are moments, and I'm seeing it more, and I'm shifting more. And it's these moments of friction are becoming less about me and more about not just us, but also her, right? Because she, like, number one, she's a child of God. She has her identity. And in some ways we're one, and in some ways we are also our unique self that we want to honor and respect and lift up and encourage. So this word empathy, and then I just did a podcast with my friend Kenji, so bomb. And same. I asked the rebel and create question, and he said he's rebelling against having empathy for his spouse in moments that he knows that he should, wants to. And I'm like, damn, I'm doing the same thing. Like, I could in this moment be empathetic and sit with you and hold space for you. But instead, I'm throwing a little fuel on it because it's a speed bump in the day, in my calendar, in my to-do list. Like, as I say it, that sucks. I don't want that. I want empathy because I want somebody to have empathy for me, and me to not. And here goes, I think the reason why it's hard for me to have empathy, or maybe everyone, but I'll just speak for myself, is as a dude, and maybe is growing up as a Christian, which I'm still, a follower of Jesus, but this idea of, am I doing it right? Am I doing this right? I want to do things right. So I'm constantly on the outside of myself, watching myself, judging myself. So then that just makes me wicked judgmental of people around me. And instead of just being okay with me today on my path of growth and who I am, and then if I did that for myself, then I would do that for those around me. Okay, number 6, 7, and 8. These words I've been journaling about recently, so I'm going to give it to you now, and we'll see what you're thinking. But it's like, I've been doing some reflection, writing, thinking about my wife. I mean, man, you guys, I've been leaning into my marriage the last few years, I feel like, in more ways than I had. And in some ways it's beautiful, and in some ways it is harder. But here's these 3 words. So number 6 is, you were made to rule. Okay, now when we hear this word, if like a woman's listening to this, I know if my daughters were listening to this, they'd be like, whoa, hold up, dude. What do you mean you're going to rule? You're going to rule this house? You're going to rule this family? Well, this word rule, I'm leaning into this opportunity to love, right? If God has entrusted me, like, Ned, I see you to rule and lead, that is 100% to love and serve, which comes back to that crucible, really, right? This isn't loving for the sake of a feeling that I'm getting. It's loving in a responsibility that I've been given to rule, to take care, to oversee. It's responsibility, it's ownership, but not control. Control's different. So I'm going to bring up these other 2 words. So number 7 is to reign. What does it mean to rule, reign? And then the third word will be dominion. What does it mean to reign? Well, I'm gonna have this land, I'm gonna have this home, and I have this opportunity to reign, right? And that's, like, you think about it, it's opportunity to, like, have influence and inspiration, and kind of not your fingers in everything to control and make it about me, which I can do. But are we bringing joy in our marriage? Are we bringing joy in our home? Which means that you and I are not swayed by our circumstances. We're not swayed by the disgruntled employee or the jerk boss or the client that's, it's just, this work was hard, or the family member who's annoying us at the moment, or the neighbor, like all the stuff. You and I are not swayed by that. I got this picture right here on my wall of this man in rain boots and a raincoat, and he's got a ship wheel in his hands. He's on a ship, and you can see the mast behind him and the waves behind him, and he's just looking up, and it's dumping rain. And he's still there. He's still there. Is that what you and I are doing as we take the opportunity to be kings and reign in our home? Are we bringing joy amidst the chaos, amongst the chaos, whatever the word is? Are we bringing joy? Are we choosing joy? Or are we swayed by happiness and comfort? Okay, now number 8, which is the third word, is dominion. Okay, you and I have dominion. Genesis, right? If we go back to number 1, are we building this marriage thing on some sort of faith background? Now, you and I were made to rule, reign, and have dominion. So to have dominion, negatively, we could just dominate. Like you and I have the power to dominate a room. Or as we take responsibility, we have opportunity to bring peace and stability, which comes back to the home and the garden. Are you and I creating borders to where our family can walk in and lay down and take their shoes off and just be at peace no matter what's going on? And it's so, I don't know if this is just a weird Ned thing, but there's something for me about seeing my daughters, especially when they're laying in their beds or sitting on the couch and I can see the bottoms of their feet. I don't know. I love my wife's feet, but here's my reasoning behind it. Is I feel like the bottom of your feet is like it's vulnerable, right? Like I live in Hawaii. I have mainlander feet. I can't walk on the lava rocks. It's too hard. My kids can. The point is our feet are like vulnerable. So to have no shoes on, to have your feet exposed, to have them up on the couch or up on the bed, they're safe in an environment that I had the opportunity and responsibility to create. So when I walk in a home and I see a kid who their feet are up and they're laying back and they're resting, relaxing, like they are at peace, they are in a stable place, they are safe, they feel safe here. And you and I, if we take this opportunity in our marriage and in this home that we're building to have dominion and we take responsibility, okay, we're not passing blame. Oh, this is because your mom or this kid is this or whatever. My boss is this, all the stuff we could act like victims about. But are we taking responsibility for what we've been given? Do we look at this as a gift from God that he said, hey, I trust Ned with these 5 kids and this wife and this neighborhood. I trust Ned. Does God trust you? Are you that man that if you have it, he trusts you, right? If you have it, he trusts you. So what are you going to do with it? It's like, imagine you're a 12-year-old boy and your dad hands you the first BB gun or first shotgun. Are you ready for it? No, but it's this calling of, okay, I'm going to step into this. My dad believed in me that I can do this, so I'm going to do it. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to mess up along the way, but we take responsibility for it. Okay, number 9. This is so critical in my marriage. And I have not been good about it. There have been seasons, and I'll tell you why I think this. Okay, the word is margin. Do we have room? Is there margin, or are you so structured, so focused on what you need to do all the time, busying yourself so much that you don't have the ability to be aware or in tune with what's going on with your wife? And for me, I could get up at 4:30 in the morning. I could do all the right things, morning routine, work, email, pay the bills, make money, fix, then after, take the kids to the dentist, to the doctors, to the haircuts, to the sports, to the jiu-jitsu together, fix the fridge, fix the dryer, mow the lawn, like always doing the right thing where there isn't margin for you and I to see, know, and understand our wife. And I think sometimes, 2 reasons why I think. Sometimes we do it because we just don't want to deal with the reality of the vulnerable part of marriage and life, right? If we busy ourselves enough, we never really have to go to the vulnerable parts. The other thing is if you get married, when you get married and then it's fun, right? It's fun and exciting. And then you get a house, it's fun and exciting. And then you move and then you have a kid and then you have another kid and then kindergarten and then sports. There's all these things that there's no margin for the two of you, right? Have you created margin in your schedule and in your life for you to be together, for you to know each other, for you to see each other, for you to understand each other? Like right now, you and I pause. Okay, let's think about this. Where's our wife right now? What's she doing? What's she thinking? How am I loving, supporting, encouraging her? So my wife right now is running errands. We're leaving on a flight tonight at 9:30 with our daughter to go on a little trip. She's going to college soon, and for our 20th anniversary, a little celebration for that. So she's running around with her stuff that's really important. And I'm here doing what I think is important, which is fine. But am I aware of her and her needs and how she's feeling? Think about your wife when she's falling asleep. You're done talking and she's falling asleep. How's she feeling? When she wakes up, what's she thinking? What are the things that you and I can do? Now, there's certain things we can't do. I had this great conversation recently with somebody. There's certain things I can't be for my wife. Like I can't provide all her healing. I can't provide all her needs. I can't fulfill her everything. And I think that's actually a healthy realization, is to know, well, what is my role, and how do I come alongside and love and support, and because I can own how I show up, but to do so, I have to have margin in my life so that I'm not just constantly working on the right things. Am I just working on the right things? And the thing is, as I talk about this margin, is we got to pause and ponder these things. Like if you're bored of this conversation, you need to go sit with your journal and think about your marriage, the meaning, your relationship, because this is critical. It's hard to do, but it's critical. Okay, number 10. I remember when my wife and I first met, the summer I was 18. I was so spontaneous. And I get it, right? I was 18, but I was spontaneous. It was like, all of us are going to the river tonight to have a fire. All of us are going camping tonight. And we'd all go sleep in the back of trucks, all wake up and just run around and have fun. Oh, we all worked. We're going to go to the lake and go swimming and go buy 2 tubs of ice cream and eat them all tonight and watch a dumb movie. Now I'm 40 and it's like, oh, I got to go to bed by 9:30. I got to go to bed by 10. I got to get up by 4 so I can do my morning routine. It's like, again, kind of going with the margin. Are we doing so much of the right stuff that we're missing the opportunity to pause and look at the stars, to stop and look at some flowers, to go on a walk with the dog, to not just get it done, but to have a longer conversation with our bride? Are we spontaneous? I mean, you guys, my wife has been telling me for 9 months she wants to go golfing. She's like, hey, let's try golfing together. And I've golfed a few times, and I literally had it on my calendar twice to go, like, let's go golfing. And not like it was planned, but like, let's schedule it. And it took me 6 months. We went like 3 weeks ago. And that's maybe not a spontaneous thing, but one of the things that my wife loves is this spontaneity. Spontaneity. What's something that your wife loves? And then how do you build, experience some spontaneity to keep things fresh and alive and fun? And which leads me to this. Is your wife your best friend? Like, are you guys friends? Are you friends? Do you talk about everything, laugh about everything? And I don't know that I've been the best at this the past few years. And I think it's because we just are so go, go, go. But I made a comment about best friend recently, and she made a face. And I just held that, not to take it personal, but to realize, if she was my best friend, or to her, what is a best friend? How am I a good friend to her? And how would I need to show up where she would feel like I'm her best friend? And is there anything else more important than that? I mean, sure, faith, sure, pay the bills, sure, take care of your kids. But what do I want for my daughters one day? Like when my daughters are celebrating their 20th, do I want them to be like, dude, my husband's hilarious and we have so much fun together? Or do I want her to be like, yeah, we made it. And I'd rather go to the Bahamas with my girlfriends than my husband. Now, I get it. There's multiple things, but I want you and I to lean into this as I'm leaning into this, to go, I want her to be my best friend. Now, I'm going to share sort of something with you as I end this episode. Invest in your marriage. My wife and I went on a marriage retreat in November, early December last year. And there were several moments of wow. In particular, there was a moment where we were sitting in our hotel room after a long day of, I would say, intense conversations and workshops, etc. And she shared something with me. She shared something with me about how she felt I would respond if we were to get divorced. That it wouldn't be hard for me. Let me think how I want to say this. That that I could easily be hard-hearted towards her through the process. And I was like, whoa, is that true? And I think that there's some past hurts and frustrations that have always led me to go, if I were ever to be dumped or divorced, then I would be fine. And I would show up as fine. And yeah, harden that heart, go forward, move forward. But when she told it to me, it helped me to see that if my spouse feels like, not that this is going to happen, but if my spouse feels like if we were to get divorced, that I would just quickly be fine and be hard-hearted and dick about it, that it just in the moment, it made me feel like, is she 100% free in this marriage to flourish? Or is there this little hesitation that if I were to mess this up, that this dude would just switch to not like me, and let's just use the word, he would just easily switch. And I'm like, damn, that is heavy. And I've processed that the last 6 months, and I've thought about it a lot. And I truly believe that I've been doing work that I want her to know that I would be devastated, that I'm so committed to this. I'm so committed. I love her so much. I am 100% all in with all of me, that I would be beside myself if this didn't work. If God forbid this fell apart. And it's been a lot of conversations with God of like, God, I don't want that to be true. I don't want her to feel that way. And I know it'll take a long time for her probably to see that. And it's not like it's holding anything back. But these are the things, guys. These are the things. Marriage, wow. It matters. All right. That's my 1 through 10 thoughts on marriage. And then come back next week and we will, I'm going to give you 10 more. Thank you, dudes. Thank you for being here. If this is beneficial, share it with a homie, write a review. It matters. This stuff matters big time. What else matters? Journal about what you're thinking. Talk to your spouse. Dude, freaking hit me up. Marriage is so important to me. Hit me up, Ned at rebellandcreate.com. Hit me up on Instagram. Be stoked to jump on a Zoom call and just talk family, life, marriage with you. All right. Thank you to all you dads out there listening to Fatherhood Field Notes podcast. What you do matters. Do not be like everybody else. Be yourself. That is your kids, spouse, and your community needs. This is your guide, Ned Shout. Together, let's rebel against the view that fatherhood has little impact, and let's create lives engaged in mastering the craft of fatherhood. I look forward to hanging out with you next time.